Good evening, everybody. My name is Shashank Randev, and I'm the founder VC at 100x.vc. Welcome to our live session. Today, we'll be talking about future of Indian unicorns and how it's important to build out successful startups from incubation centers. I thank my fellow panelists who've taken the time out today and being on the session. Very quickly, let me introduce them. I've got Vinutha Rallapalli, Director at T-Hub, Subhrangshu Sanyal, CEO, IIM Calcutta Innovation Park, and Vipul Patel, VP Center of Innovation, Incubation, and Entrepreneurship, CIIE, IIM Ahmedabad. Thank you all and welcome to the live session at 100x. Before I get into specific questions, India is the third largest startup ecosystem in the world, adding more than 1,000 plus tech startups in 2019 itself. Indian startup ecosystem's quest for unicorns or growing startups with valuations, over 1 billion has continued. The country has over 335 active incubators and accelerators with a capacity to enable over 5,000 startups every year. More than 65% share of incubators and accelerator programs have been added in the last 5 years, out of which 57% are active outside tier 1 cities. The future of unicorns are poised to rise from these innovation centers, and today's discussion over the next 35 minutes would be around how incubation centers are increasing the catchment area to nurture these young entrepreneurs who will eventually grow and have been growing over the last few years. So, beginning with Vinutha, would be great if you could spend a minute talking about your incubation program and how you have been supporting the startup ecosystem.
Sure. Thanks, Shashank. Hi, everybody. So T-Hub has been around for the last 4 years. We have started as a co-working space. This was a Telangana government initiative back in 2015. And over a period of time, we have built ourselves into an innovation ecosystem where we work with various stakeholders, right from the startups who are the beneficiary to investors, mentors, service providers. Corporates are a big part of what we do, and I will talk a little bit more about that going forward. And government. So we work with various different stakeholders to help the startup grow, to raise funds, and to eventually, become a company that offers employment and revenue and wealth to the country. So many of our programs are under corporate innovation or startup innovation. So we have like a three-pronged approach towards how we operate. One is the corporate innovation. This is something that we have excelled at in the last 4-5 years. We've worked with over 35 plus companies. We have worked with companies which are spread across the country, companies that are very much PSUs from India. And what we do is we work with them to help them find innovative solutions. We create the demand for the startup services or products that have been around. So that's a big chunk of the work that we do. Startup innovation is where all of our incubation and acceleration programs are. So we have our Lab 32, which is like our core incubation program where we take anywhere between 50 to 80 startups. And it's a 6 months program where we help them with fine-tuning their product. They do not come in at very early stage, though it's an incubation program by name. They're not at an idea stage or a very early stage because we believe there is enough support going at that stage. So where we come in is majorly when a startup has reached the 50 lakh revenue mark, that is when T-Hub takes in startups for our incubation program. Apart from the Lab 32, we have T-Angel, which is an investment-focused acceleration program. We have a Trestle, which is a program that helps startups explore other markets. In this case, it is Silicon Valley. And we work with various different international corporates. One is on the corporate innovation, but also with accelerators and incubators to help our startups go into different countries for market expansion, while also enabling similar soft landing for the startups from various countries to enter Indian markets. So that is in putting it in a nutshell, that's part of what we do.
Great. Thanks, Vinutha. Subhrangshu, over to you about how Calcutta Innovation Park has been supporting the early stage ecosystem in East India.
Right. Thank you, Shashank. Uh, before I talk about what we do, let me also talk about a little bit on our mission and vision, that why we exist. So, as a institute, IIM Calcutta, since its inception, has been focusing on creating a socially responsible and socially responsible leaders, business leaders, right? So when the incubator got created in 2014 end, so we also started operating from 2015. We thought that that's the gene of the institute. So let us carry the same. We carry the same genes. So let us focus on one area which is more important for India, that is leveraging innovation to solve some of the major challenges faced by the common people. Okay. So from day one, we started focusing on the impact part more rather than the valuation part of it. But we feel that if somebody is really good, the valuation will also follow that. But our focus was that how we can create impact on ground. So now the region that where we operate, east and also through east, you have the northeast 8 states. So there the problem is different. The problem is that who wants to be the entrepreneur? That's the first problem that needs to be solved. Then comes with scaling up, valuation, all those things come much later. So we spend a lot of effort actually to promote entrepreneurship, motivate the youngsters to take up entrepreneurship, and that happens at a state level, because this is not a small scale activity. And then we try to identify promising ideas, mostly grassroots level innovation, frugal innovation. I mean, that's what we see mostly. And then we try to enable them to really scale up and create the impact, create livelihood. So we call ourselves that we are livelihood creators leveraging innovation. That is our focus. If it doesn't benefit people, then we are not doing a good job. So why to achieve this, we actively partner with various states. So we are the knowledge partner. I mean, worked as a knowledge partner of 5 states. Like obviously West Bengal, we started working as a knowledge partner. Then Mizoram, Assam, Meghalaya, and Arunachal Pradesh, we are the official knowledge partner of the state government. So that takes us to district level. So our team is actually on the ground. We are moving around in various districts of east and northeast, motivating the youth to take up entrepreneurship and hunting for those grassroots level entrepreneurs who don't know what a business plan is, but doing something really good and creating livelihood. So maybe contrary to the concept of unicorns, where we are talking about scalable, maybe global kind of businesses, we feel that there's a lot of importance of startups who are solving local problems, maybe using frugal innovation. And currently, through our state initiatives, we are incubating around 150 kind of entrepreneurs. I'll talk more about it, later.
Great. Thank you so much, Subhrangshu. Vipul, over to you. CIIE has been quite active in the ecosystem. You also work very closely with Bharath Innovation Fund. Would love to understand, and for our audience as well, how CIIE on the west side of India has been contributing and looking at the whole startup ecosystem. Vipul, you'll have to unmute yourself.
So I'll quickly basically summarize what role we playing in the whole startup ecosystem. So hi everyone, I'm Vipul. I'm part of CIIE Co. We are innovation continuum based out of IIM Ahmedabad, founded in 2002 as an academic center. We have grown and pivoted to address the multiple emergent gaps in Indian entrepreneurship ecosystem. Today, as a innovation continuum, we spread across incubation, acceleration, seed funding, venture capital, and research. So we basically operate the whole spectrum, from starting from incubation to providing the growth capital. We also have recognized as a center of excellence by Department of Science and Technology. We focus on two themes: deep tech and inclusion. As an organization, we run sector focus, sector agnostic, technology focus, acceleration and incubation program. This is a way we scout the early stage entrepreneurs and the startup. We work with them, provide advisory and investment support to build business models and take them forward. In terms of the numbers, till date, we have actually, in last 10 years, we have mentored or coached more than 5,000 plus startups through our publications like books like Stay Foolish, Stay Hungry, and there's some more case studies. We have actually inspired more than 1 million people in India. Till date, we have accelerated more than 1,000 plus startups. Out of that, we have made around 160 plus seed investment at a different stage and different sector. Apart from this incubation and acceleration, as an organization, we also manage two venture funds. One fund called Bharath Innovation Fund, which is focusing more on deep tech. We already have announced 6 investment out of that fund. And another fund we manage is called Bharath Inclusion Seed Fund, which is the seed fund more focusing on inclusion startup. We have announced 3 investment out of that fund. Apart from these 2 funds, earlier in 2013, we started the fund called Infuse, which is the fund more focusing on sustainability. We already have deployed money in 14 startups, and right now we are process of getting some of the exit out of that fund. So this is the whole summary in terms of as an organization we operate.
Great, thanks, Vipul. My next question to the panelists is, what are your thoughts on India and how India is poised to see a number of growing startups doing well, contributing to the Indian local market, which will inherently go ahead and create a massive job opportunity for millennials and Gen Z? Starting with you, Vinutha, your thoughts on the same.
So I have started working with the Hyderabad ecosystem back in 2015, and we were 400 startups. We actually prepared a report of all the startups, and all the names were included. Today we are at about 3,000 plus startups, and of course T-Hub has been a major catalyst in kind of pushing this number forward. And that is what a system of, and it's not just T-Hub. There is Telangana Innovation Partners. This is a combined effort which the Telangana government has put, and it's one of the most proactive states with respect to putting a policy in place. So we have a B-Hub which supports women entrepreneurs. We have TSIC which supports rural entrepreneurs. We have Task which is for skilling students to become entrepreneurs. And we have emerging technologies which kind of is supporting government to pick up emerging technologies and implement at a wide scale. So I think one is to be able to really push this to the next level of growth is to get in the buy-in not only from corporates, which is of course a major part of the demand generation, but also the governments. And it's very essential that governments buy into this startup story as much as we can get them to. And this happens with informed and a strong team which can be the mediator between these two, and that's exactly where we all Telangana Innovation Partners stand. And I believe that we will definitely, of course, the numbers will definitely grow, but it's not about the numbers anymore. It is the quality of startups that needs to grow. Shashank, even with all of this, we have most of our good incubators and accelerators based out of 5 major cities. It's Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, Ahmedabad, Hyderabad. This is where it is all. But innovation is much more, and we have to bring in the best practices of what we all learned over all these years, and help percolate it to the incubators across India so that they can really support and enable the startups that come to them. That will really help them go to the next level. If you see, 90% of the startups that get into the incubators are unfunded, more than 90%. Only 10% of sorts get their angel or seed fund before they get into an incubator. I think before they raise the next big round of funding, and after they get angel funding, it's not incubation anymore. They need a different kind of support. It is not a space to stay. It is not a basic facilities, but they need to find the right product market fit. They need to find the right pricing, and it needs a different kind of mentoring at that stage. And that is where probably we need to kind of put more focus on, not at very early stage, and at a growth stage, they don't need as much support as they required before. But at the early growth stage, that is where we need to do more as an ecosystem to push those numbers really high. Those are my few thoughts on that.
Thanks, Vinutha. I love the point on the Telangana Innovation I think the government initiation and their engagement with startups has to increase in order for creating a larger set of opportunities within startups and offering job opportunities. Subhrangshu, your thoughts in terms of how the future startups are going to be important and how India should be focusing on building it for employability perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is something which I wanted to mention, and you have actually mentioned it already. That see, this COVID situation, it actually brought in front of all of us the ground realities. Okay, so we have so many startups, unicorns, right? And we are the third largest. We are very proud that we are the third largest ecosystem for unicorns, right? And look at the status of our workforce. Look at the plight, huh? Just look at those pictures. Is it the reason we are pumping in billions of dollars? So I look at it very differently. We are a government funded incubator. We are using taxpayers money. I am not keen to create startups who would, I mean, if the startups raise money valuation and they grow big, I am very happy. But one thing mandatory that we look at is that you should be creating livelihoods. That's the reason government is spending so much money. If you are not focusing on creating a business that solves a big problem, rather than focusing on creating a startups to raise valuation and earn money, we are not interested as a incubator. Okay, and I think as a culture, we are talking too much about funding. Any forum you go, I think the main attraction is funding. I think we need to change this culture. The Atmanirbhar Bharat and all we are talking about, it doesn't mean that it is not funding is not the main lever for that. The funding is innovation. The funding is business model which is grounded. And I can give you examples of startups which are grounded. They have suffered absolutely not suffered due to COVID because they are grounded. They are working with people. They are serving the essential needs, and they are growing also. Okay, so I think we need to, nurture a new breed of startups who are working on solving the ground level big problems. I don't want to discuss that why reverse migration and all, but that proves that our villages we have not focused. If all the growth has centered around big cities, so population had no option but to go to villages. Why are we blaming them? Now I think we need to, once they are back now there's a tremendous pressure on livelihood creation. I look at it as an opportunity that now use those tier 2, tier 3 centers where this skilled workforce has gone back, leverage their strength and innovation to create self-reliant or Atmanirbhar towns, Atmanirbhar villages, Atmanirbhar blocks. And as a government incubator, we are committed to do that.
No, I think it's an excellent point you brought out. I think the core objective needs to be building good, sustainable businesses. And I think funding eventually will follow because the job of investors is to identify scalable businesses. And the founders focus on building, addressing problems which are large and unique. And there are many unique problems in India and able to come up with solutions which are scalable. I think funding is a function of that. So yes, very rightly said, Subhrangshu. I think most of the startups need to be reminded that the business is not about getting funded. The business is about building tangible solutions. Vipul, over to you. Your thoughts in terms of the same.
Yep. So my thought is basically, if you see in India, right? So the whole ecosystem, I think in last 10 years has been matured in most of the city, like even metro cities like Bangalore, Mumbai, and Delhi and all. I think we have a good ecosystem exist, and I think even we have able to create a good job opportunity, or you can say employment opportunity for most of the millennials or might be high skill individuals. Now the basically the requirement is basically if you have to basically increase the intensity of the employability or might be overall as a job creation part, I think we might have to go deeper into tier 2 and a tier 3 city. These are the basically spots where there is a lot of talent exist. This talent is might have to move to the larger city and might be have to work for a company. If you are able to basically provide or build a good ecosystem in this tier 2 or tier 3 city, that will encourage these people to stay back to their own city and also build the business. And historically, if you see, there are a lot of basically interesting startups came through tier 2 and tier 3 city. So you can take an example. Let's say example, one of the company we provided incubation space in the early days, the Razorpay. They started the journey in Jaipur. The company called Lending Card, they just started the journey in Ahmedabad. So there are basically even a large, you can say, startups who have started their journey in a smaller city. How we can actually encourage, what kind of ecosystem we can build, or what kind of resources we can build, which encourage these people to operate in the same city where they started, and also create a large opportunity for employment, because that is very important. And second is basically in terms of, these are the cities where I think in government have created some sort of support system. There are few incubators and other accelerators are operating, but I think strengthening those system might be again whole boost up or accelerate the whole process. So that is the way we are looking. And in that line also, what we have done is basically within the CIIE, we have basically a separate, you can say, arm. Through that, we are going deeper into smaller cities. So we also started our center in Jaipur. We are also starting the similar thing might be in MP, might be Bhopal, Indore. There are very specific city we identify. And the purpose is basically, if we go deeper into those city, I think we can increase we are able to tap the entrepreneur early, as well as we can actually create a lot of job creation at that city level.
No, I completely agree with you, Vipul, and I think you echo, I think, everyone's thoughts. Even at 100x, I think we've gone ahead and invested in tier 2 companies. One of them was mentored and incubated at some point of time at CIIE, aggregator from Bhopal.
Aggregator, yeah.
And there's another company which we invested in, Doc 32, which is based out of Indore. And we've been seeing a lot of innovations, a lot of good, tangible solutions coming out of these cities. And the other objective, I think now more than ever in COVID situation, it is more important to have these innovation centers in these cities, because the cost of operating is much, much cheaper compared to a tier 1 city.
Yep.
Yes. So I think it's the right time to focus on that. I'll move on to my next question. While some of you have mentioned and talked about your companies, but very quickly, 45 seconds each, starting with Vinutha, the type of sectors and 2-3 companies from your incubation centers which have stood out, if you can talk about them.
So Shashank, that wasn't very clear. Your voice was fading, but I think I got what you wanted. So, like we said, I'll try to keep it as succinct as we can. We have worked with close to 1,100 startups in the last 5 years that we have been around. This includes our incubation programs, acceleration programs, corporate programs, scaling programs, and people who have been part of our community. And there are success stories again, success is not just funding, like colleague here shared. We have startups which have been recognized as promising solutions by various bodies. They have raised massive amount of funding. They've been acquired. They have gone to 5x growth. So we keep tracking, all of these things for our portfolio companies. But if I were to share some of these numbers, and I will pick up our corporate programs for this, given that we have little time here. So if I take our corporate innovation programs, we have about 6 startups that got acquired during the last 3 years or so. And we have a combined funding of about $115 million raised. And Authme is one of our startups which got acquired by Airtel, and this was part of our Yes FinTech program. EMSA Visual Sense has been acquired by another company. This was part of our United Technologies cohort. And we have these stories. We have these stories coming in every day. And a lot of our startups from our Lab 32 program have gone on to raise a Series A round, or have moved to different cities and geographically expanded. So yes, we do track these metrics or these key things, but for us, again, funding is one aspect of it. There are a lot of other things we track. Number of employees is also something that we track, because that is job creation at the end of the day. That's also a key metric that we track for our startups. I hope that was the question that you asked.
Yes. So, Subhrangshu, your stories from your incubation centers, 2-3 companies which you can talk about.
Yeah, I'll talk quickly. So our though we are sector agnostic, but that in India, around 50% of the population is engaged in agri and allied services, right? So obviously, a large percentage of our startups are coming from the agri and allied domain. Uh, one startup which is a big success story we feel for India is called Dahak. This startup is based out of Patna. IITians who left their job and thought of helping the farmers. Wonderful model where they have this IT-enabled platform and kiosk which help farmers both on the input side as well as on the demand side. They aggregate. They not. I mean, they do interventions. They also help them connect to the corporates, take care of all the hassles and everything. And there's a misconception that social focus enterprises are not fundable. So please look at Dahak. They have raised around 100 crore plus funding, and obviously their revenue is much beyond 100 crores now, I believe. And these are the kind of startups who are still in business, and the cash flow is still on even during COVID. Another startup I can talk about is 5C Network. They are into teleradiology. Again, their focus is to solve the problem of tier 2, tier 3 cities where you have clinics, but due to lack of radiologists, the scannings are done and you don't get the report immediately. It takes a lot of time. So they have reduced the turnaround from several hours or days to 40 minutes because they use the cloud platform and pool radiologists from all over India. Then I give one wonderful example from Meghalaya. So it's a startup. So see, the good thing about Northeast is this: people are so humble and so good that they don't even realize that they are startups. They're doing it because they want to solve it. So this guy is actually working on aromatic and medicinal plants, extracting essential oils. And this guy doesn't have a training in that, just learning. He is deploying women in districts to produce those crops with a buyback guarantee. He buys those herbs, and with a distribution model of distillation, he is creating essential oil. The final packaging and testing is done by him, and he has and we all know it's a premium market. So we feel that he can be a big success story out of Northeast. So these are the kind of startups which excites us.
Wow, I think that's great to know, and the kind of space and sectors you're going after. Vipul, over to you.
Yeah. So if I talk about in terms of the numbers, I think so. As I mentioned earlier, we have actually invested in or provided seed capital to around 160 startups. Out of that, we have around 30 plus profitable exits, and especially for early stage investing in India, people say it's not profitable kind of thing, which clearly says that this can be a profitable altogether. If I talk about some of the portfolio company named together, there are 6 company has been acquired from CIIE portfolio. The company called Riddler in mobility space acquired by Ola. There is a company in Recruiter Box, it's a HR tech company acquired by private equity, US-based private equity fund called Turn River. There are 2 portfolio company called Frambach and Flip has been acquired by the Freshwork. Last year, one of our medtech company, Biosense, acquired by the Tulip Diagnostic, which is a subsidiary of a large pharmaceutical company called PerkinElmer in US. Last year, our company, digital health company, Kiwi, acquired by the NetMed. So these are the 6 companies has been acquired apart from the profitable exits. Apart from that, if I talk about the growth perspective, again, I mentioned Razorpay, something they started the journey with us in our Jaipur center. The 4th partner, which right now TPG Growth is one of the majority investor. We are the first institutional investor over there. There is a company called Greenway Grameen, which is India's one of the largest efficient cook stove manufacturing company. Again, we are a first supporter or first institutional supporter to back. Apart from the company called Forus in a healthcare, right now they work very closely with Google and Microsoft for their AI building and creating a tele-ophthalmology platform. So there is a laundry list, but these are some of the companies we can talk like, and we can say these are the success full company came out from some of the effort under CIIE co-incubation.
Great, thanks for sharing those names and thanks for sharing those insights. I'll now move on to the questions. There are bunch of questions which have been asked, and I think during our discussion we've addressed them. But there's one specific question which I think we can touch upon, there are two questions. I'll combine them. So the first question is being part of an accelerator or getting trained by an accelerator a plus point while fundraising? And hence the second question then becomes, how important is incubation for early stage startups? So very quickly, starting with Vinutha, Subhrangshu, and then Vipul.
So, how important? I'll start with the second question. How important is incubation for early stage startups? Um, I would say that there is a lot of things that are unknown, and it depends on which journey you are on. If you are an established entrepreneur, have built a couple of startups, then you would not need that kind of support. But if you are the first time founder and you are putting together a team, having an incubation support will be like having an extended team who is out there to support you and give you a hand whenever you fall, or whenever you have a question. You have a bunch of people that you can turn to. There's a set of mentors that are available for you. But there's an entire ecosystem out there that you can just go plug yourself in and build your startup while sitting at your home and doing it. You can still do it, but it's just a lot more effort, and it's like sometimes you don't know what you don't know, right? So you will miss out on all of those things without having those interactions in an ecosystem.
Subhrangshu, your thoughts?
Yeah, yes. So I agree with Vinutha has said. On a lighter note, I'll mention, I'll mention another point. So let's say if you're a recruiter and you go to IIM for recruitment, why people go to IIM? The simple reason is that these are filtered bunch of people. They have crossed multiple hurdles. So it's quality input. Now, then after that training has happened, obviously it will be better. So similarly, if you go to a branded incubator, people know that the entry criteria is not so easy. There are multiple rounds of filtering before you have been accepted. So the quality should be better than average. Okay. So that's a perception which people generally would have when looking at a startup who has been incubated at CIIE or TIAP, like that, right? Or IMCIP. So that's my response.
Great. Vipul?
Yeah. So I think adding to the Subhanshu, they already have covered most of the point. But let's say example, if the question is also like either I should go to the incubator or acceleration, I think that depend on, let's say example, as a startup or as an entrepreneur, they should be doing their own self-assessment and try to see, okay, what are the gap exist in the model or might be the approach they are going to take. And within that, if you feel that, okay, these are the gaps can be addressed by a very specific accelerator is going on, either it can be a sector focus, technology focus, or might be as a business focus, and that is a way they should be mapping and applying or getting the support over there. I think if you feel that, I think these are the basically, or you feel that I think most of the thing what you are trying to do is already might be all might because of your existing or earlier experience. I think then in that case might be you can go directly. So it's not a mandatory in terms of either if you go for accelerator or incubator, there will be a high chance for acceptance in terms of the funding market in the future or not. But I think it's a self-assessment can tell you in terms of either you should be going with that route or not.
Great. We're running short of time, but I'm very tempted to bring out this question, and I will. This is by Soumya Shukla. Your thoughts on creating a market implementing startup products in the government, especially AI health tech solutions, so as to accelerate business opportunities. Vinutha, you want to start?
Yeah, I think to some extent this is, it's very specific thing that you've asked. But let me tell you what our approach is towards this in Telangana. For example, we have this, we have one of our Telangana innovation partners. It's called Emerging Technology. This is basically an office, and this year, of course, has been declared for Telangana as the year of AI. So this is a specific focus for us. And what Emerging Technologies as a partner in Telangana Innovation Partners does is to figure out what are the areas that we can implement AI at for example, one of the things that we have done for COVID solution is to detect if people are putting on their masks. it is something that they have integrated at the traffic signals. So these are solutions that are being adopted. But again, it is a buy-in at a very state level, I would say. But again, I think from Startup India side, there is a lot of effort that is going in to kind of pick up these right companies that they can introduce to various states. So that's also something that needs to be definitely embraced and kind of taken advantage of at this point. So I think, yeah, we definitely have like a great scope today, because everybody is looking out for startups and technology to solve all the issues that we are going to face in the post-COVID world also, right? So yeah, welcome. If you have any solutions, please reach out to me and I'll see what
I want to add one point here,
Yes.
because doing business with government, many people get frustrated that I have a good solution, but cracking the government orders and all those. So I can only mention that don't get so overwhelmed by the AI or robotics or that part of it. If you want to do business in India, specifically healthcare, and want to grab a great big market, it has to be affordable, accessible, and with a acceptable quality. If you maintain these three things and leverage technology to enable this, then you will be able to do a big business. Otherwise, if you not, then the technology otherwise will have no meaning for Indian context.
Great. Vipul, quick 30-second response.
Yep. So I think, so serving government, and again, because now government has become a lot of also proactive in a lot of areas, right? So if you, and also there are, as Vinutha also mentioned about, there are organizations who are actually like Startup India and all are providing opportunity to reach out to government and pitch the product over there. And if you are able to prove your product over there, there will be a lot of, or you can say high acceptability in the market, because you will, if you are able to crack the government, and then I think you will be able to sell in the private sector also very well. So I think there are basically organizations who are connecting with the government, and I think government is also started adopting, even might be a very early stage doing the pilot, or might be even adopting the solution at a very early stage.
Great. So with that, we come to an end. And as a final question, to the panelists, your quick thoughts and advice to the founders and viewers who are watching this session in terms of how they should be looking at COVID-19 and the landscape post-COVID-19. We'll begin with Vinutha. Very quick 30-second answer. Move on to Subhrangshu.
Okay. So I think this is going to be, I mean, we have done recently a survey to understand how this is affecting various startups. And of course, as we expected, a lot of startups, a third of our startups assume that this is going to kill them. This crisis is going to kill them in the current form. But what we have, of course, done is work with them to figure out what are their key strengths and help them pivot, or at least get their head thinking in the right direction, whether that's something that they want to pursue. And I think that will be the case with all the startups out there. If this is a sample that we have. And I think one is an opportunity also is there. In every crisis, there's also an opportunity. So it's all about our grit in trying to figure out what is the opportunity that you have. And in every solution, I think there is one part that will really work post this whole COVID. You're building a whole product, and maybe there is just one part of that whole solution or product that you've built, which is going to become very important in the post-COVID world. And right now, intelligence will be figuring out what is that part. Or maybe if there is nothing, then there is a team that is so strong that is going to take you into a future and build something great. So I think this is a great time. Of course, though it is very hard time, but it's also a great time for us to go back to the drawing board and figure out what is your plan B, C, D, E, so that you know how to come out of this alive. That's my thoughts.
Thanks, Vinutha. Subhrangshu, your final thoughts?
COVID, a great learning for all of us. If you look at the examples, then you will realize that it's all, you need to have your basics right. If you look at Swiggy delivering groceries, that tells you that focus on the pain points, the real needs, okay? Then you will survive rather than the gain points and good to have. I think COVID has proved that point without any doubt.
Thanks, Subhrangshu. Vipul, your thoughts?
So basically, as a founder, I think, or as a owner of the company, founder has to think about like which part of their business model can now serve to the new normal. So they need to go back. They need to understand. Okay, if my product is going to be still might be relevant for the customer I was trying to for them I'm developing, or might be I need to pivot. So if you have to pivot, then they have to go they have to do the assessment about their business model and try to figure out which part of the business model is going to be more relevant during the COVID or even post COVID, and they should be focusing more on that. Second is basically in this process also they should try to immune their business model in the current crisis, right? So I think there is a lot of learning they might have, and how they can use that learning to make sure that they will be surviving in this particular period. Second is again, these are the decision related to pivot, not to pivot. I think startup don't have a time. So I think here we are talking about number of days, not talking about the number of not a week or a month. So whatever the decision they have to take this decision very quickly. Because most of the startup, if you see, let's say example, the startups who are funded in last 1 year or recently funded startups, right? Still they are in the process of validating their business assumptions and all, and they have a very limited resources for survive. So if those are the startups that are not able to take those hard decision very quickly, the runway will not there, and as everyone knows that getting the funding in this situation is not basically easy. So that's I think whatever the decision they are taking, they should be taking the decision fast. There are three ways they should be looking at the pivot. The first is basically, let's say example, if you still believe, okay, my product is going to be relevant for the same market which I'm serving, then they should be go deeper in terms of how they should innovate in their core of their organization. So let's say example, what are the some of the technology, digital thing they will be adopting, so that will help them to do a better in or their own processes. Second, if you feel that okay, my product is not going to be, might be 100% not relevant for it, but I think there are some portion of the my product is going to be relevant, then they should be try to identify some adjacent opportunity spaces. And the third category, if as a startup, if they feel okay, I think this, and some of the sector like what will hospitality or travel, or if you are in that sector and if you believe that this is going to be very tough for them to survive for the next few years, then they should be jump into and start identifying some of the white space, new opportunity where they're able to cater. So I think this is the way I'm looking. Apart from, I think so startup also need to consider that I think this is the ecosystem where all the ecosystem player, including government, incubator, accelerator, have put a lot of effort to create the whole ecosystem in last 10 years, right? And also this is the crisis time where everyone is thinking how we can actually float in this crisis, and whatever the momentum has been created will continue. So in that case, I think if this thing happen as an incubator, as an accelerator, how we can also help them to make this pivot faster, and also like provide some resources in that direction.
Okay, thank you so much. That was a very insightful session. Thank you for taking the time out, Vinutha, Subhrangshu, and Vipul. And looking forward to hosting you again on the 100x live session. To all the viewers, 100x.vc works very closely with all the incubation centers, and we are now investing in the next set of our class 2 investments, and already engaged with a couple of the incubator startups at these respected incubation centers. Do feel free to reach out to us at pitch@100x.vc with your investment pitch deck. Once again, thank you, Vinutha. Thank you, Vipul. Thank you, Subhrangshu, for taking the time out, and look forward to our future interactions.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.